Working from home and homeschooling your kids is difficult, but with the right routines and a little bit of planning, it's doable. But nobody really talks about what you do when work starts getting really busy. Maybe you have a work deadline coming up, or an event that's about to start happening, or even a coworker is out sick, so now you are stuck with more work. Here are 5 things that I do when my work life is getting crazy and I feel like I just don't have time to homeschool. Hi, I'm Stacey with Kids Learning for Life, and the first thing that I do is I look at my schedule and I prioritize my lessons. This is going to be different for everybody because every homeschool is so different. For me, I like to prioritize English and math. So mostly reading and even sometimes writing. But I make sure that I try to do those first thing or whenever I know that I'm gonna have time to homeschool, and then everything else we do if we can make room for it. This way, at least I know that my kids are moving through in my opinion, the most core subjects, and things like history and science and everything else will kind of come into play eventually, but I don't feel like they're getting behind if I know we're at least hitting those crucial points. Now, depending on what's going on at work, maybe I don't even have time to actually give my kids a reading and math lesson. So this is where tip number 2, I prioritize online learning platforms and even learning apps. This year, I'm utilizing IXL with my kiddos, and they actually have all core subjects, English, math, history, and science, and I even have, IXL has Spanish as well. But I can utilize IXL to say, hey kiddos, do these lessons, and that can count for their ELA or their math for that day. So it's really great that I have this backup. A few other backup type programs we've used in the past are Reading Eggs and Math Seeds for younger kiddos. And then ABC Mouse I really enjoyed when my kids were young. Both of those are paid for, but Khan Academy, they actually keep rolling out new classes and new subjects. They have a lot of math for sure, and then they have English language arts and a few other subjects. So Khan Academy is completely free that anybody can create an account and use. They have videos and then quizzes, so you can definitely kind of create an account for your child there and then have them work through those lessons on busy days. The last learning program I like to incorporate are learning apps. There are so many different apps out there, and it really just depends on what your child is into and what type of programs they're going to find more interesting than others. So definitely just doing a search. I will link to some of the videos. I have done several videos of different websites and different apps that I have enjoyed in the past. So that way that can help get you started, but definitely just do a Google search or ask like a local Facebook group for some recommendations for, because there's always new apps coming out all the time. Tip number 3 is going to be utilizing audiobooks. Now, I love reading aloud to my kiddos, not a lot, but a little bit. But when I'm busy, I know I just do not have time to do that. So I can let my kids utilize audiobooks. Sometimes I work from home most of the time, but there are some times where I'm going to different things and I might be able to take my kids with me. So I utilize audiobooks in the car. So that way I know that they are still getting some of that education and being able to listen to different stories and elements and all of that good stuff, but they're still learning even though I'm, in a car trying to get something done for work. My favorite audiobook apps are free. So the first one I utilize is LibriVox. They have a lot of older recordings, and all the recordings are by volunteers. So you do kind of have to, sometimes you get a really good volunteer version and sometimes the little scratchy, but again, just kind of look there. Also, I like using Hoopla. Hoopla is through my library card, and I just put in my library card information and I get to check out 3, I believe, books per month. So we've never gone over that. I can't say that I've used it that often, but being able to you can always renew a book afterwards if you haven't finished it in the month. Tip number 4 is going to be educational shows. Now, some of my favorites, Disney Plus is all linked with National Geographic, so those are all great videos to have your kids watch. Maybe you need to hop onto a Zoom meeting and have your kids have some quiet time, but know that they're not just watching junk, that it's actually something educational. I love National Geographic shows for this, or any nature documentary or anything of that nature. I also love utilizing YouTube. Now, I do always recommend that you watch YouTube with your children. They do have the YouTube Kids app. I have never actually downloaded it. I felt like It didn't work the way I wanted it to work as a parent, and I honestly haven't tried it in a few years, so maybe they've upgraded it, but I don't use YouTube Kids. So I'm always on YouTube, and then my kids know certain channels they can go to, but I'm always nearby for this. But if I just need to get some paperwork done on the computer and I can sit kind of nearby where I can listen in, I'll say, yeah, you can do some Mark Rober, or you can watch some Number Rock, or there's SciShow Kids. There are so many different YouTube channels out there. I'll even link to some videos I have of some of the top educational and even the top STEM channels that my kids love to watch. Lastly, if you're like, my kids just don't like educational shows, they want to watch an actual movie, well, by utilizing our film unit studies, you can have your kids watch a movie, and then once you're done being busy for that day or maybe the next day, you can actually utilize the film unit studies and implement lessons based on the movie that you had them watch when you were busy. We do have 8 film unit studies available now. We are going to be adding more eventually, but these are great because they incorporate English, math, science, history, the arts, and our special subject movie magic, where we go behind the scenes and kind of show some of the fun aspects that happen when you're creating movies. These unit studies are perfect for K through 5th and just kind of keeping that learning going. But again, you got some time where they could just watch a regular old show, and then you can get some learning in afterwards. Tip number 5 is going to be independent learning activities. Now for me, this means that my kiddos have activities that they complete every day that they can do totally on their own. These are things like piano practice, Spanish practice, independent reading, typing club. It may even be extra worksheets or subscription crates. Now I recommend that for older kids just because as long as they can do it on their own, it would count as an independent activity. But younger kiddos still, I have found, still need help with these types of crates and can't really do it on their own. Now, how do independent activities work? On a day-to-day basis, I use them as if I'm working on reading or math with one student, then I know that my other kids, if they need me, they don't always need me. There's some activities they can do on their own so that they still have something to do while I'm working with another child. Now, on days that I'm really busy, I may say, hey, you've got all these independent, like it might be a whole day of just independent activities, and they can go do it on their own so that I know that they're still getting their learning in and they're still practicing different skills, but I don't have to be there facilitating it that day. Now, of course, there are always going to be some homeschool days where it is just too chaotic or you just can't make homeschooling work, and that's okay. I don't want you to feel like I put this video out there saying that if you don't do any homeschooling one day that it's a bad thing. No, I'm just giving some tips so that if you know that, hey, I need my kids to do something today, I don't want to get into too much of a rhythm of getting out of doing homeschool, these are some tips that can help kind of guide them when you're really busy. If you're curious about which Disney Plus and National Geographic shows that I recommend, you can check out this video right here. And if you want to learn more about our film unit studies, I'll leave a link here so you can check that out as well. See you next time, and happy homeschooling.